Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another dispatch. And it's a lovely day here in Colorado. Not too hot. It's nice, sunny. A couple of years ago, I posted something about it was an excerpt from a piece from a class where I was talking about why it's important to paint, particularly now, today, in these times. And I thought maybe I would try to revisit that a little bit before moving into a reading. Um, so, I mean, I think we all know we're living in very stressful times, let's say. A lot of instability, a lot of uncertainty. And yeah, a lot of that is coming, of course, from our own politics, government situation, but it's global and it seems to be maybe picking up momentum in some way, like, whoa. And so I guess the first thing in all of this is how important it is to take care of ourselves, to nurture, really, what makes us feel centered, grounded, ourselves, okay. And I know for me, certainly painting does that. There's something that happens, there's a real realignment. I mean, like actually, like in my brain and my body and their relationship and being in the world. I mean, all of that. And there's a clarifying. It's not like the problems go away, no, but I feel more resource, more resilience. So there's that. That's real. And if you're anything like me, I mean, I grew up, I mean, I always needed to paint, but it always felt somehow marginal, like not quite necessary in some way. Like I needed to, but you could see that it was sort of this extra thing in the world. And I'm starting to understand that is really not the case. Like it's completely upside down. That actually aesthetic engagement, music, movement, dance, making stuff with our hands, is hugely central to being human. Critical, really important for continuity with what's coming next, for them, that there are those of us now doing this. That's really important. So if you've got an inclination to paint, uh, take care of it, guard it, nurture it, feed it. It's real. This isn't an extra thing. This is not about the gallery world. This is not about good or bad or being a star or anything like that. This is about you with you in your life and how that actually contributes to what's coming next. Real, real thing. And if any of you have questions about that, thoughts, questions, please let me know. Put put a comment in the comments. I invite you, really. Or contact me, send me an email. Like, what are you talking about? Anything. Okay. On that note, Immortal Thoughts, Late Style in a Time of Plague by Christopher Neve. I don't know how I ended up ordering this. If any of you out there actually suggested this book to me, will you please let me know? Was it just the algorithm that said you might be interested in? But I am. It knows me, or you know me. It's beautiful, really. All right, so I'm going to start just the beginning, I think, the introduction. Me, I didn't look to see when we started, and I'm recording. Okay. Anyway, okay, so here we go. And what he's doing in this, well, he'll tell you. There was only one idea that interested me then, which was to record all that had been omitted in previous books about late style. When the plague began, I went to a place in the country where I could write for a year and see nobody. I had the artists who are always in my head for company, so I was never for a moment lonely. On starting to write about them, I came to realize that what we had in common was the experience of producing late work. It was a curious fact that while time lasted, there was time enough for everything. Late style, that odd compound of thought beyond reason. When, in painting, the constraints of patronage, sharp eyesight, and public approval are left behind. Part death, part memory, part intuition, a way of working that transcends technique and sets no store by the ability to finish. A willingness to take risks, to chance the arm. The urgent need to leave behind terms of reference and get to the heart of the matter without breaking off to explain. There is a certain smudginess of handling, ambiguity, and half-formed thought at the far end of painting. Beyond knowing, but not beyond recognition. Sometimes it belongs to great artists who continue working in extreme old age, like Michelangelo and Titian, and it is discernible sometimes in those who did not know that they were stopping, like Velázquez. Only very rarely do you see it in the late work of those whose output petered out long before they died, like Gwen John. I believe they all have something in common. I have thought about this my whole life, but it is only now that it is almost too late that I dare to set it down. I am surrounded by death and have the opportunity to test my own against the deaths and last work of the artists I most admire. For this reason, I shall juxtapose an account of the pandemic and the changing seasons in 2020 with my ideas on the business of painting. There was also the figure of time, a 17th century allegorical sculpture which, until it became unsafe, had been fixed high up on the church tower of the local market town and was now set up in a far part of the garden. It was stone gray and lichen covered, lichen, right? Yeah. Life-sized, almost naked, with exaggerated features, extravagant beard and forelock, and a beetling downward gaze. When I was not writing or growing vegetables, I tried to repair its cracked skull, damaged arms, and long, cadaverous old man's torso. In this way, I not only had much to do and to write about as the plague crept nearer, but was even happy, except when the pain came, because it was a beautiful spring and hot weather, and I was thinking about time. I liked I lived very simply in rooms I had known as a child. The old wireless in its fretwork cabinet in the kitchen kept me abreast of the news, though I took care not to listen too often. This next piece is in italics. The unfolding drama did have a certain fascination. In England, the Prime Minister caught the plague, as did some members of the royal family. The Prime Minister went into hospital for intensive care, and the very old Queen broadcast to the nation about suffering. Refugee centers and armies faced chaos. The plague spread rapidly through the slums of India. In Italy, they started to put bodies on ice rinks because there were too many to bury. Homes for the elderly were left without enough staff to care for the residents trapped inside. Everywhere, the sick died alone because no one was allowed to visit them for fear of spreading the plague. The end of the italics. Where I was, fritillaries, cowslips, violets, primroses, and daffodils were more prolific than ever. To the tiny scents of winter honeysuckle and witch hazel was added the smell of the small wild daffodil, narcissus, and in the woods. Prolonged winter rain had indulged the fruit trees so that they bloomed inordinately. First the white Japanese cherry, Mount Fuji, then the pear with its red anthers, then the native cherry and the first plum blossom against the delicate blue of the unpolluted sky. There were no airplanes. The sky was exhilaratingly fresh and clear. There were no cars. 4 times a day I would hear the horsemen pass by the empty lane. The evocative song of chaffinches was everywhere. The eggs in song thrushes' nests a wonderful blue. Gold crests were in the pear blossom. Here comes italics again. In Venice, the canals reverted to canaletto blue because there were no boats to churn up their sediment. Because there was no longer any space in which to bury the dead in New York. Trenches were dug in public parks for use as temporary mass graves. All galleries and museums were closed, and thieves broke in to help themselves. A great Titian exhibition set up in London at the National Gallery hung unvisited. Rough sleepers died in the streets. Zoos were deserted, the animals set free or abandoned to die after using the last of their feed. Before many days had passed, great numbers of doctors and nurses began to die. And italics. The cuckoo arrived, and then the swallows. Ceanothus opened. Bluebells, periwinkles, anemones. A sadder and a lovelier spring. So then he goes and he imagines himself with all these different artists at the end of their lives. So let's see. I have no idea how long I've been reading. We'll try the Bonnard, shall we? And see where there's a lot in here. It's really beautiful. Okay. Bonnard's last 4 paintings. It is a baleful business going up the steep street in the heat in La Canée on the Côte d'Azur to call on Bonnard in 1946. I can tell you. He seems weak. He is 79, a melancholic with no vitality. He has no appetite and keeps his sun hat on indoors. He says little. His wife, Martha, died 5 years ago. He has locked her room, never goes into it. Her long legs and narrow back, yellowish when naked, are no longer reflected in the mirror or in the bath. She did not so much grow old as simply cease. The time is over, you see. The time of small pet dogs on chairs and garden furniture, visitors in striped and spotted clothes, trays of fruit and patisserie, tart aux fraises, frisée, well glazed, and petit choux in great profusion on red cloths or on white, when sun poured in through the dining room window to give cups and bowls their blue and violet shadows. All that has finished, or is on the very point of finishing when you get there. Pierre Bonnard looks at his face and narrow shoulders in the shaving mirror and sees without a doubt that he is an absence. An absence with worry lines on the forehead, weak eyes behind round glasses, a thin apology for a mustache. His face is pale as greenish milk against the bright light. All life is at the foot of the hill, where twin ribbons of traffic wind their way, glittering along the coast road in the direction of the Grande Corniche. The Côte d'Azur has become crowded. The Americans are back. With the benefit of the exchange rate, and the pre-war bars and casinos have reopened. Here are the beaches, Plage de la Garoupe, where the ever youthful and glamorous Chouvalton and Lolo Burki bronzed themselves. Also the villas rented by the very rich Gerald and Sarah Murphy and the Scott Fitzgeralds in pre-war summers. Picasso, having hurried back to the coast from Paris, is installed, courtesy of the municipality, at Chateau Grimaldi in Antibes. He sends crates of oranges to Matisse, who is working as usual at Nice and Vence. Picasso does not think much of Bonnard. There were always antipathies. Renoir sent Matisse away with a flea in his ear. Leger is at Biot, Chagall at Vence. All European high modernism has been or will be here. Ozenfant, Zadkine, Arp, Van Doesburg, Delaunay, Le Corbusier, de Stael will paint some exuberantly optimistic pictures and then kill himself jumping from the cliff at Antibes. It is 25 years since Renoir, brushes strapped to his crippled hands, finished at Cagnes and Magogno. Now there is the tearing calico noise of Bugatti exhaust or Hispano Suiza as Lartigue makes his way to Nice, and Van Dongen has painted himself, after a fancy dress party, as Neptune. Compared to all this, Bonnard is very quiet. You drag yourself up the hill, a gate in the wall, the name of the house La Bousquet in italic writing. It is a modest villa, built by a speculator in 1924 and bought by Bonnard in 1925, when La Canée, now a suburb of Cannes, was a village with a village shop. There is a garden, enlarged by Bonnard's purchase of some neighboring ground, some palms and fruit trees, and a pink path, which follows the slope to the winding Sagne drainage canal. Across to the left, you can look out at the Ile de Lorraine, and westward over the rooftops there is an extensive view to the Estoril Mountains. Now Bonnard's elderly maid, Louise, opens the door to you. She wears a starched apron and is bursting with laughter. Her plump hands are folded on her stomach. You are to come in. Mr. Brazai, whose photographs Monsieur Bonnard much admires, was here yesterday, and Monsieur Bonnard hardly said a word to him. Would not let him take a photograph except of his back view. Was most reserved, in fact. But he will like to see you. He is painting in the dining room. You are to go through. All right, I'm going to pause there. and a few more pages, but I'll stop and I'll continue next time. And okay. So there you go. Painting. Okay. Hope you're all well. Painting, making stuff. Talk to you soon.